Hi there, how are you today? This is Lisa Dowling coming to you with a little information session about medical thermography. I'll start the session by letting you know how I got into this work and why. So, I had actually, when I was 27 years old, my doctor found some lumps in my breast, and I was sent for a mammogram, like many others in that situation. And the mammogram came back as a precancerous cell diagnosis. I was told to go away and come back in 6 months. To me, that was an unacceptable um, sort of diagnosis that you're going to tell me I'm precancerous and to go away and not worry about it and not think about it and come back in 6 months. So, being the person who I am, I started doing a little bit of research, and it's actually the time that I got into traditional Chinese medicine, and I started on a course of Chinese medicine, herbs, and acupuncture for 6 months. And then I returned to my doctor 6 months later for my follow up test, and my scans were completely clear. Fast forward many years. So, first of all, I've not ever felt or had any kind of lumps in my breasts ever since then, so I'm very fortunate about that. But fast forward many years later, and I started to hear whispers of medical thermography as an option for having breast screening or breast cancer screening. And I thought this was a very interesting option because for anyone who's ever had a mammogram, you know that it's incredibly uncomfortable and to the actual point of being painful, and also its exposure to radiation. So there's definitely downsides to having a mammogram. And then fast forward a few years later, and I was working and actually teaching in my traditional Chinese medicine practice in cupping therapy, and I started to see some thermographic imaging that a practitioner was using to demonstrate the effects of cupping therapy. And of course, that got me even more interested. And long story short, the past few years, I've been facing some personal health issues that took me, if not completely, mostly out of my physical practice. And I was looking for a way to continue to serve the public in health using the knowledge that I'd acquired over 20 years of practice, and also, obviously, um, continue with my career while I was recovering. So I started to research into thermography. And here we are today. So this little chat today is designed to give you some information about thermography. So I've got lots of research here, and all the links are provided in the slides, and I can also provide those links for you afterwards so that you can also continue your research yourself. So, thermography is basically a heat sensing image. So, there's a special camera that picks up on heat signals in the body. It is a non invasive approach to assist the body in early detection of many illnesses. And we're going to talk about some of that later on. While most assessment methods use radiation to detect conditions, whether that's a colored dye or a frequency that exposes the body to radiation, for conditions like breast cancer, thyroid issues, dental problems, circulatory problems, thermography uses infrared heat sensing camera that produces absolutely zero dangerous side effects. More and more research is being done to demonstrate the connection between dental issues on the same side of the body and breast cancer. These early signs can help individuals take the right steps early on in order to prevent more serious health problems further down the road. So So other common problems that people see are heat or cold nodules in the thyroid, which can also indicate hormone imbalances and symptoms like fatigue and lassitude, organ dysfunction, and its specific origin, blockage or heat in the lymphatic system, accumulation of heavy metals in fat cells, as well as inflammation trapped in various areas of the body. So, although the mammogram is still considered the industry standard in Canada, it is currently under review as the risks of mammography do not always outweigh the benefits. So, there's an article listed here from Global News that talks about the breast cancer screening task force being paused. And this is because the research coming out is indicating that sometimes again, sometimes the tool is a greater risk than the actual condition. So the risks of mammography include rupture of tumor and pressure of the mammogram, low accuracy when breast tissue is dense, false positive, which is based on dense breast tissue rather than an actual pathology exam, risk due to exposure to radiation, and gender identification, medical treatments, and hormone therapy influence the results. So, for example, if an individual is on hormone treatment, then the results of the mammogram may show heat signals where there is pathology. Mammogram is not recommended under the age of 50 as the risks actually outweigh the benefits, and yet more and more we're seeing women being diagnosed with breast cancer under the age of 50. So here is the research to the Canadian Task Force guidelines, and under that I have a summary of a number of studies which show the risks and benefits of mammography. So mammograms have been discontinued or are under review in several countries due to their potential risk of harm. And I just mentioned this because it could be in the very near future that we see breast screening no longer being available to us in Canada. So in this research collection of studies here, again, the link is posted here. It says mammography screening is harmful and should be abandoned. Again, not my words. This is the heading on this research article. A carefully conducted systemic review and other observational studies have found that screening does not decrease the incidence of advanced cancers, whether defined as those larger than 20 millimeters or belonging to higher stages. One study reported an 8% decline in late-stage cancer over 30 years, but that could easily have been caused by greater breast cancer awareness. In Denmark, for example, the average tumor size decreased by 9 millimeters in just 10 years, which was before screening was introduced. So that's more of an awareness issue than it is a screening issue. Many papers claiming that screening works have used relative rates, which is seriously misleading. Since screening adds many overdiagnosed localized cancers to the screen group, the percentage of advanced cancers invariably goes down. This cannot tell us anything about the possible benefit of screening. The logical conclusion to the research is that early detection is the key to avoiding cancer mortality. So, what does that mean? Well, it means that having a treatment such as medical thermography performed before or around the age of 50 is a very beneficial way to detect any early onset heat signals, tumors, or lumps in the body. So mammogram has been banned in Switzerland and is under review in Australia, Netherlands, Denmark, Norway, Italy, Spain, Canada, and the United States. So it's something to bear in mind. And again, another article here listed. Medical thermography has been used in the detection of breast cancer, systemic sclerosis, diabetes, wound infection, thyroid nodules, migraine and headache, neurological issues, and there's so much more. Raynaud's syndrome, heavy metal toxicity, lymphatic problems. The list goes on. So, what will thermographic imaging show me? So your thermographic images will show any noticeable heat or cold patterns in the area of assessment. The images will undergo several assessments. First, the images are uploaded into a software that measures the heat patterns from the camera and gives feedback on temperatures and potential concerns. The thermographer then personally interprets the heat signals and reports on significant findings. The report is then sent to your thermography associate so that, or thermography technician, so that they can make recommendations based on your individual images. If your images are of concern, we may collaborate on findings before making recommendations. Thermography has been used as an adjunctive option to the mammogram when clients want to get an impression of their breast tissue without using invasive or radioactive techniques. Thermography will show you heat and cold patterns under the surface of the skin, and in the case of breast thermography, these patterns have a relatively predictable pathology pattern based on size, location, and presence of multiple signals in one or both breasts. Thermography will now give you a diagnosis, will not, sorry, that's a typo, will not give you a diagnosis of pathology, but the results will indicate whether you should proceed for further assessment. Excuse me. So before I go on here, I will just explain quickly when you schedule a thermography appointment, depending on how many scans you receive. You may receive just a breast scan, which would be one scan, or you may be concerned, for example, with some teeth, issues or cluster headaches or something like that in your head, something in your lymphatic system. So you may decide to do a cranial dental um, thermography and a breast, and also the connection between the same side issues with the dental and the breast um, are showing up. So that would be considered a two scan session, or you can do full body, which would be these two scans plus the upper body, which is going to show you the upper back as well as the arms and the hands, and the lower body, which is going to show you the internal organs, the lower back, sacrum, pelvis, hips, legs, and feet. So, for those of you who are in a position to be able to afford it, I personally recommend the first set of scans that you do a full body scan, because it allows the thermographer and myself to have a complete picture of your entire body. Because when you only scan one area, for example, um, you're only seeing the condition of that area. But what I have found is that when doing full body scans, it gives us the ability to look at the entire lymphatic system, the entire circulatory system, all of the internal organs, and create a full body picture of what is going on. And in my case, as a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, I'm also going to look at these scans from a meridian perspective. So I can look at it and see if there are any particular meridians that are standing out, which is also a very good way of detecting illness before it really starts to manifest in the body. So, in that case, you schedule a full, which is 4 sets, which is a total of 32 images. The breast scans are a set, so it's a front, oblique, and side view on both sides, so that's 6. And then there's an additional 6 images that are taken um, after you do, sorry, 5 and 5, 10 images total. Um, so you do a regular set of images after acclimatizing to the room for 15 minutes, and then you do a cold water challenge. So the hands are placed in 10 degrees Celsius water for 90 seconds in order to dilate the blood vessels in the upper body, and then the scans are repeated. So what that does is it shows us how the vascular system is responding to temperature changes, and that just increases the accuracy of the actual test. So if you have any questions about that, please do send me an email and ask them. I'm more than happy to share any information with you. And just a little bit about me. So, why nomad thermography? Well, some of you may know me. I have been living in the Madawaska Valley for the last 7 years. I've just moved away from the area recently, but I am literally a nomad. It's not like I don't live anywhere else right now. I'm right now kind of moving around a little bit, but I am a local resident. I've been serving the community for several years. Um, and I would just say that the interpretation of thermographic scans, which is done by a machine and a medical doctor, um, and sent back to me, I am applying another whole basis of knowledge and understanding of the body onto those scans from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective. But also, I have studied movement therapy and a lot of physical medicine, also from a scientific background that has a lot more to do with actual body function. So it gives me the ability to look at the body in terms of the systems, in terms of also the meridian system. So it provides just a little more broad perspective. Also, I have access to a lot of different healthcare practitioners should you need a referral, so that you can move forward with the best possible treatment should it be required. So that is about all for today. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about thermography, and some people wonder why, for example, this practice is not part of the mainstream medical system. And the only response that I can really give to that is that um, it doesn't support the medical model, in that most thermography procedures, although if there's pathology that we may potentially detect, then we are going to recommend that you take the scans to your medical practitioner, your doctor, or if you have a specialist, and that you get further tests. Um, the purpose of this is, if you do not require a mammogram, or if you are not feeling well, but your doctor has not really been able to pinpoint what that is, and you're being treated generalized way, but you haven't received any answers, then when we do thermographic scans, we may be able to see exactly and specifically where the problem is in your body, so that you have just a little bit more precise information on how to proceed with that. So that is what I'm offering. This is not a diagnosis and it's not a treatment. It is really a starting point so that you can start to get the answers that you need in order to live a healthier life. So that is pretty much everything. Like I said, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. All right. So I thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this call. Bye now.